Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Empty with WKras. Today on Empty, we will talk about why America needs more black male teachers. I changed the topic for today because of the sense of urgency. Before I start, Empty is brought to you by Midtown ABC, soon coming to Lake Carolina and Solar Station. It is the spirit of Midtown. As always, the music you hear in the background I do not own. I just love the music. Today's quote: the manifestation of a person is a direct result of how much they invest in themselves. Yours truly, Kevin Raspberry. Talking about why America needs more black male teachers. First thing is, let me read you this excerpt from Diversity and Equity from Ed Surge, 2019, Miss Kimberly Underwood. 2%. That figure may seem insignificant until you understand the context. Despite students of color representing more than half the student population, black males make up only 2% of the teacher workforce. So as it happens, that statistic is very significant, as this lack of diversity has negative implications for all students. Let's dig into that, family. I have been fortunate enough to become a certified educator in the state in which I live. In the state in which I live, I have invested quite a bit of time in working with our young black boys to present another side of successful lives, to introduce them to post-basketball Magic Johnson. I have had the honor to meet him on a couple of occasions. Once I took all of the students, which I had majority black male students in the school that I started, and he poured into the students and myself about how he used basketball to eventually get him to a life that he could never dream of, and that is becoming a successful businessman. Magic Johnson Enterprises owns a conglomerate of businesses, from restaurants to movie theaters, commercial real estate, residential. He has put himself in a position where business finds him rather than him be the seeker of business. He is also a part owner in the Los Angeles Dodgers, now a world champion, even outside of the realm of something that he originally loved, which was basketball. And even as a minority basketball owner, he won a championship. He had an unprecedented contract that he signed with the Los Angeles Lakers that gave him a significant amount of stock shares in the Los Angeles Lakers at the end of his playing career. 6'9". Can you imagine the thought of most people when a 6'9" black man walks in the room? Immediately they think basketball player. And he was one of the best. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the 50 greatest players ever in professional basketball. But what's significant now about Magic Johnson is he now has molded himself into something bigger than an athlete, which is what America has become accustomed to when you talk about young black males. He is articulate, he's smart, and he surrounded himself with people who are even smarter than he is in the realm of business that he is in. He's an investor, but he's also a black man. The most significant part of black males being educators is the influence that we have not just on black boys or black girls, but all races. They all get to see us in a different light than what the news shows them, what social media shows them. It is interesting how they get to see our intellect first rather than athletic ability or hearing us on a musical track. And nothing's wrong with either one of those. But they both have an end when it comes to the career. What happens after that? What prepares the athlete and the musical artist for life when those careers, which are short in themselves, when they come to an end? It is the education. It is their ability to recreate themselves. As black male educators, we are able to give our students a view of the world that most would never hear. I have a lot of my white female students talk to me about letting their fear go when they become students in my classroom. A lot of my students, when they first see me in the hallways, and I work at a pretty large high school, the first thing they call me is, "Hey, coach." Because they're so used to being told that's probably why we're in a school. Because I have a bow tie on or nice slacks or a top line shirt, they know that I'm probably not a part of the cleaning crew. They don't see a gun on my hip, so they know I'm not a detective. So their level of respect and interest for black men changes. Funny thing, some of the educators question, well, what do you teach? They're so intrigued that I teach accounting, social media and business, and I teach fundamentals of computing. In my head, I'm thinking maybe they know about my past history as far as my struggles in education until they see me in action in my classroom. Now, I'm not the most polished of educators because I've only been doing it in the classroom 2.5, maybe 3 years. But I was in an administrative type role prior to that as a school founder, executive director, and things of that nature. But now I get to put into action what my education taught me, which led to what my experience has taught me. So when they hear me talking to them about how to write a budget, how to save money, how to purchase real estate, how to become independently wealthy through real estate, investment, benefits, how to use insurance to their advantage, teaching them about whole life insurance, the difference in term insurance and whole life insurance. I use the game of Monopoly and the game of life a lot of times when I'm teaching my students because I want it to be fun, but I really want them to begin to learn responsibility from their level and progress from there. I am a teacher who loves to read, but for my students, I like to see that not only can they read, but can they apply what they're reading. So we have some fun. I have my students do things that are unconventional from a classroom standpoint. And it's shocking. The administrators in my building love the fact of how I integrate my knowledge and experience in business of over 25 years, 30 years, almost 30 years actually, into the classroom and the activities that the students do. It's not what most people think about when they think about a black male educator. Now, I have some sharp black male educators that I see as mentors of mine who teach core subjects, the Englishes, the maths, the social studies, the sciences. But there are black male teachers who teach history that really blow my mind because I have embraced reading. And even in my accounting classes, my students do a lot of reading. I have them read an article every day at the beginning of class and write a small summary of what they read and their understanding of it. I want them to understand that the world evolves at a faster rate now than in our history because of technology, because of the application of different levels of talent. Competition is different. So I want them to be able to be formidable in the workplace, whether it be as an employee, whether it be as management or as ownership. I teach them all three levels. I teach them the cash flow quadrant, which takes you from employee to owner. Those are the type of things we can give to all students. So why is it really technically less than 2%. They rounded it up, but it's less than 2% of the education workforce, teachers, that are black male teachers. I have my take on it. A couple of different reasons. One, black men are now stuck on the fact they believe they should just be business owners, their own employer. Entrepreneurship is a great thing. I have taught a lot of students, adult and our students in our public schools, how to start a business, how to run a business, how to understand the business cycle and get ahead of the 20-year curve and maximum that most businesses face. Learning how McDonald's and Amazon and these different companies reinvent themselves at a certain time. Usually around 15 years, a company or a business that has been in business will then begin to look at ways of changing how they do business and how they look in business. Their trajectory needs to change. They don't want to become complacent, i.e. Blockbuster, which I used to work for. Black male educators can show our students what it's like to really be behind the 8 ball and have to work twice as hard. This is where we can use that to apply to the life of our students, to teach them that life can be unfair. Teach them how to turn lemons into lemonade, as a friend of mine, Jay, would say. Black male educators offer a sense of stick-to-itiveness that a lot of race and genders do not offer, simply because of the way we are seen and treated, not just by race and gender other than ours, even our race and gender. I talk to a lot of black males about becoming educators, being the example for our students, our children. We all know the statistics for black male students in our public school system. The truth is, and history has shown us, that black male students are the most unsuccessful students of all students in our public school sector. So what do we do to change that? We have to invest in it as well. We're asking, and I always ask, why, after decades, our black boys are still stuck at the bottom of our educational system? And the truth is, as black males, we have to accept our role in that failure. I remember going for an interview to teach business in high school because that's my expertise and it could help to change my learning curve some, because you have to still use the right pedagogy to reach your students. I learned that teaching is not easy and it is not a job. It is a passion to help young people become the best that they can be. And the professionalism that we have to teach them is usually a notch above, because we use a lot of theatrics as black male teachers to reach our students. We are creative, but we're also respected. We have some of the best classroom management of all teachers. Part of that, I believe, is the fact that we have an innate ability to be disciplinarians even when we're not trying to be disciplinarians. Our presence creates a sense of discipline. My first year as a teacher, I had a lot of teachers come to me to help put out fires with black male students. Not to ask, how's it going? How are my lesson plans? How's my classroom management? They never asked, but they watched my classroom management. That's all most of them really saw. That I didn't have a lot of problems when it came to students with attitude, students with their attire, students with their colorful words. One of the things I used to do was allow students to have colorful letters rather than colorful words. So instead of them using the F word, I allowed them to use the F or the S or the D. Some teachers were like, well, you're giving them too much leeway. Sooner or later, they're going to use the word. Well, it takes 30 days typically to form a habit. After our first month in school, I go from using the word, using the letter, to now creating different words to replace the colorful words. Let me give you an example. Instead of them using the F word, which we know what that is, because they had changed that to the letter F, now I tell my students, let's now build a different word in place of profanity. I teach them the constant use of profanity is usually a sign of someone who can't fully express what's on their mind. So we change that. I don't allow the F word to be fudge. Some teachers won't, or some people won't hear fudge. So maybe folly. My favorite that I taught the students was flim flam. And make it fun. That's what black male educators can do. We can help expand their vocabulary and their knowledge of words, and they not even know it. Because I will never give them a word like phlegm or flam without giving them the definition of it. That's the rule. When you replace your letter with words, you have to know what the word means. You can't just use a word because you heard it or you saw it. You have to know the definition of it, and you have to use it in the right context, even though it is in the place of a colorful word, profanity. That's what black male educators can offer. An alternative, because we see the alternative. Shoot, we are often times called the alternative. I remember teaching a lesson of why it was in some parts of the South, it was illegal for any black man to have more assets than any white man. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, Mr. Raspberry. So you mean to tell me if you go out and earn it, you can't make more than somebody? Well, that's what it was. But now I taught them how, over time, how our generations turn that around, and how my great grandfather bought hundreds of acres for all of us who weren't even thought of yet. But where my grandfather is from, there's an entire community of land just owned by raspberries. Raspberry Lane, Raspberry Court, Raspberry Street, you name it, we have it in our neighborhood. Now, it's deep in the sticks, but that's irrelevant because there's generational wealth there. For them to know and see and hear those type of stories and be able to touch a descendant of that type of what my family calls never being outworked is significant for them. So now when we talk about those lessons, oftentimes they ask me, Mr. Raspberry, give us a story. Give us a story. Let us hear it. Give me something. I know you know something about this. We talked about cryptocurrency and a lot of that. What's your take on it? How do you feel about that? We offer a lot. But we also touch more than just their minds when we teach. We touch their heart, we touch their spirit, we touch the humanity in them to see that we are significant to our country and to our world. Why is it less than 2% of black male teachers? We have to change that narrative. So I thank you for your ear on today. I thank you for your ear on the previous podcast. Please let me know. Email me, text me if you have my number. Inbox me on Facebook. Send me a message on Twitter what you think about it. Quote for today. Inspirational quote. Mediocrity will never do. You are capable of something better. Gordon B. Hinckley. I thank you for your time today. We will be back tomorrow with another opportunity To live empty or to live until empty? Thank you for your time. We'll speak to you soon. This is WKras.